What's up, this is Chosen, and this video is going to be a champion guide for the new Void Legendary URSUGA WARCALLER, so let's get into it. Alrighty, so URSUGA WARCALLER is in the Barbarians, and the Legendary at the far top right, the Void HP base champion right here is URSUGA. And remember, as always, for my champion guides, I will have an infographic down in the description that you can check out and take a look at. It's going to show all of the general information like the books required, the stats, the sets, the grades, and then the masteries that are on the champion you will see in the video. But remember, as always, you're going to want to build the masteries yourself and just use that as a template slash starting point and build the masteries for how you are using the champion in your own account. So let's put that away for now and dive into the stats and the kit here. So first of all, URSUGA, I don't know when you are watching this video, but she came out in around October of 2020 as a brand new Void Legendary being introduced to the game, and the base stats are absolutely bonkers. It's some of the best base stats in Raid. You've got a base HP of 23,400. The attack is completely irrelevant. It means nothing for her because she does not scale her damage with attack. And then the base defense of 1531 is really high for an HP champion. Base speed of 108 is super high, and then she's got a base resistance of 50, so you can also make her sturdy if you want to build her with lots of resistance. The base accuracy of 0 is rough because she does need accuracy to place debuffs. That is a lot of her value, so the fact that that is 0 instead of the typical where we see like a 10 or a 20 for a base accuracy is the only rough thing about her base stats. But her base stats in general, from HP, defense, speed, resistance, some of the best that you're going to see in the game, which on her ends up being very important because of her passive and her ally protection, which we will get into as we dive into the kit. So first of all, we will go into the A1, and again, like I said, URSUGA scales with HP. That is what her damage is going to be based on all of these abilities that deal damage. So the A1 is going to be attack one enemy with a 45% chance that we can book up to 60 of placing a block cooldown skills debuff for one turn. Anytime we can get CC on an A1, stun, block cooldown skills, stealing buffs, something like that, it is a win in that situation. So this is a pretty solid A1. Then for the A2, we've got, this one gets a little bit wordy. I'll try to do my best to explain to you how this works. So it's going to attack all enemies and place a 30% decreased crit damage debuff and a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns on targets whose attack is higher than their defense. So anybody who's built to deal damage and scales with the main stat of attack, somebody like a Skullcrown, Trunda, characters like that, she's going to greatly hamper their damage. She's going to lower their crit damage, which is very important. Crit and crit damage are a massive source of the output of damage that a character is going to do. And she's also going to decrease their attack. Why do I keep mixing that up? Decrease their attack by 50%. But if they're a champion that doesn't scale with attack, if they're not built to do tons of damage based off of attack, if it's a defense champion like Razen, Valkyrie, then she's going to place a 30% decreased speed debuff instead and a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns on targets whose attack is equal to or lower than their defense. So this is the best I can explain it to you is it's kind of like a smart debuff. It's going to be based off of what is needed instead of just trying to be a one size fits all. It's actually going to tailor itself to being as devastating as possible to the opponent that it's being placed on. So that is honestly a pretty cool A2. It's something we don't really see a lot in Raid, is this situational smart debuffing, and those champions that scale with attack, lowering their crit damage and their attack is very crucial because that's a lot of their value is hitting hard, and now they're not going to hit near as hard. And then the champions that scale with defense are typically better in longer prolonged fights, and we're going to be lowering their speed and their defense. So yeah, this A2 is very good, and the fact that we can get it booked down to a 3-turn cooldown, this is a pretty insane A2. And then for the A3, we've got a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion, obviously, for 2 turns. And then she's going to place a 25% strengthen buff on herself to help with mitigating all that damage that she's going to be taking in. And we can get that also booked to a 3-turn cooldown. So that ability is very good in terms of helping the overall tankiness of your entire team. And then lastly here, we've got a passive. Golden Guard decreases the damage all allies receive from critical hits by 30%, and this champion will receive that damage instead. So what it basically means is her allies are not going to get hit as hard, but instead those critical hits are going to be directed towards her, and hopefully you've got the strength and buff and lots of HP on her, and with those good base stats, she should be very sturdy. So what it's going to enable you to do is kind of mitigate that damage onto her, because she's going to be more well equipped to handle that damage than somebody like a glass cannon attack champion. You'd rather have them get hit a little bit softer and have that damage go onto your URSUGA, which is what this passive is designed to do. Then we've got an aura that increases ally HP in all battles by 33%. That's a great aura. Anytime we can get all battles and a big percent like that, 33%, whether it's defense, attack, HP, speed, anything like that, all battles, something up there like 30+% is going to be a really good aura. So I absolutely love her kit in general. She doesn't even need the aura to be good, but the aura is just kind of an icing on the cake and an extra bonus effect to her kit. So yeah, if you've got her booked, she's going to have a very good rotation, because she's got 2 abilities that are both on a 3-turn cooldown. So she can go bang, bang, A1, and right back into her abilities, which makes for a champion that can have a very nice flow to it and a good consistent rotation. I also noticed from the testing that I have done, she seems to be prioritizing the barrel through A2 ability, which I think is good. You do the A2, get those debuffs out on the battlefield, and then the next turn go ahead and start protecting your allies. But if you're in a situation where you want to get that ally protection out ASAP, you're probably going to have to prioritize that, because from what I can tell in the testing and playing that I have done with her, she seems to be wanting to prioritize this A2 on her AI. So now let's head on over to the URSUGA that we've got built on this account and talk about the gearing process, the booking process, the masteries, and all that type of stuff. And on the way over to do that, I do quickly want to give a shout out to Butters25, who was lucky enough to summon URSUGA. She's very new to the game, and she's a Void Legendary, which are the toughest champions by far to acquire in Raid, is Void Legendaries. So I'm probably never going to have her, so I would have never had an opportunity to do this video if it wasn't for Butters reaching out to me and letting me use the account here for a few hours to go ahead and get this out for you guys. So I really appreciate that, Butters. Thank you. So here is the URSUGA that for the most part Butters had built on the account here, and I'll go ahead and walk you through the process and what they were probably thinking while doing this, and I'll let you know if I agree or disagree with the build as we kind of discuss it here. So first of all, let's go into the total stats. If you want to be able to compare this to your URSUGA, I think this looks pretty solid. We've got about 100,000 HP. She scales with HP, so the more HP we can get, the better. I think about 100,000 is a pretty good amount for an endgame type URSUGA. Speed of 241 is really good. You're going to be able to put a lot of work in with a 240 speed URSUGA. The crit rate, the crit damage, I don't think it's that optimal to build her as a damage dealer. Her multipliers seemed okay. I don't know them perfectly down to the decimal, but I was trying to kind of take a look at it when I was playing with her. And, I mean, they seem like maybe slightly below average. She's not going to hit as hard as like a Sir Nick, in my opinion, just from what I can tell here. But I wouldn't really prioritize building her as a damage dealer. I would build her more as a utility tank. Then we've got accuracy of 334. That's pretty good. Perfectly gold 4 viable. And the resistance of 181 is also pretty sturdy. Because given the fact that she is a champion that requires accuracy, being able to get 180 resistance while also getting 334 accuracy is pretty solid. So yeah, I like what Butters did here in terms of the build. I think it looks pretty solid, and definitely URSUGA can put in a lot of work with those type of stats. So for the banner, I would say most often you're going to want accuracy. A lot of her value is going to be based on landing those smart debuffs that are going to be tailored to your opponent on the A2, and then also the block cooldown skills on the A1. The amulet, you're always going to want HP, in my opinion, unless you're building her as a damage dealer for some reason, then you would want crit damage, but I would say 90-something% of the time you're going to want an HP amulet that has a substat of accuracy. So this amulet here is a very good choice for her. On the ring, you're going to want an HP with lots of HP and defense on the substats. This ring works perfectly fine for her. On the boots, she is a debuffer, so I like speed boots on her. I think that's going to be the route to go most often. Then you're looking for the usual suspects, HP and accuracy mostly. The chest is almost always going to be HP. I really like this one on her. It's got a lot of HP and defense, and it is a speed set, so we can crank out and get that speed all the way up to 240 like you saw. The gloves, again, we're going to want to go HP percent most of the time. The top ones are pretty self-explanatory. You're going to be looking for your best substats of HP, speed, accuracy, and defense, but here are the pieces right here, just in case you are curious. So yeah, I really like this build. If they were asking my opinion on what I would change, Not a whole lot. I mean, maybe the speed is going to need to be tailored to your specific team if you're building your in arena context, but just in general, I really like this build here that Butters did. Then for the booking process, all right, so the cool thing about URSUGA is I like how they made her take 11 books. I don't like it when they release champions like Brackus. Let me pull that up here. If I remember right, one of my gripes with the Brackus fusion was the amount of books he took. So it was 4 plus 6 is 10 plus 4 is 14. Yeah, so I don't like it when they go over about 11 or 12 books. 14 is a little bit too many. I remember that being a gripe of mine when they did the Brackus fusion. So I like how they stuck it to the 4 plus the 5 is 9, and then plus the 2 is 11. I think that's about right. Most legendaries, we want to keep them in between that 8 and 12 range, so 11 is pretty good, and URSUGA is definitely worth the investment. 11 books is totally fair on her, so don't feel bad about spending the books on URSUGA, especially if you haven't completed your Barbarians Faction Wars. She's an absolute team carry, an amazing champion, so she is totally worth investing in. You don't have to worry about spending books on her, and they're all pretty impactful. I mean, you're still getting CC chance of 15% out of 45 on the A1, so the books are viable there. And then obviously, if you're gonna book her, you want the cooldowns on the A2 and the A3 because you're getting 4 cooldowns in total. So yeah, the 11 books, all of them are pretty impactful, and don't worry about spending them on her. She's a really good champion. Then for the Masteries, let's go ahead and pull this up. So this is the Masteries that Butters did. I like this. This is totally fine. I can get on board with this. Yeah, the Eagle Eye is going to make a difference in the arena. When you have a debuffer, Eagle Eye is a great choice. And you're not going to probably use URSUGA in too many endgame clan boss compositions, so you probably don't need to go down the offense tree and take the War Master Mastery here on the bottom left. If you can see my cursor there, you're probably not going to want to be going down the offense tree too often, but she is totally fine in the clan boss. It's not like she's a trash can. She can help the overall tankiness of your team, but I wouldn't say she's like an end game clan boss team. I would say that this Mastery setup right here is totally viable for her in the arena and faction wars and carrying your teams in dungeons. So I will leave this here for a second if you want to pause it, but also remember, I do have it down in the video description if you want to take a look at the infographic that I have in the pinned comment. But I will get that put back away and show you her in action. Now, typically, I would want to show you her in the arena. Butters is really high ranked, knocking on the door of Platinum Arena, and doesn't really have their account set up to play a defensive, absorb, go second style. The way Butters plays the arena is by nuking opponents with Arbiter, Hegemon, Lysandra, and then bursting them down with Trunda as well to clean up. So I don't think in a team that goes first, I don't think URSUGA really shines there. Yes, she's going to do a defense break on champions that have high defense above their attack. So that's totally viable. You can put her in a nuke team that goes first, and she will do her defense break, and she'll perform fine. But she's not like an S tier top end game choice in a team that goes first. I think she's going to shine in a more defensive style of team. Somebody, if you have a team like Tormund, Duchess, Hawkhorn Smashlord, then you put URSUGA in there or something, a team that is really built to just slowly squeeze their opponents and out sustain them, get them debuffed, cleanse what they're doing to them, high resistance. I think she's going to be bringing a lot more value to the table in a more sustained, longer fight, especially with that decreased speed that she places on the opponents and the ally protect. It's going to be really hard for opponents to burst down a tanky team. So in a team that goes first, like Butters has a lot of their arena stuff set up, she's going to be fine with the defense break, but not totally viable, and not like end game S tier. That's not going to be like her best role. But so you can at least see her in action, I will do a Dragon 20 here with URSUGA, and then I'll show you also what I was talking about here. If you see that I fire up the auto, she's going to go ahead and do the barrel through A2 right there. So that is important to know. If you've got URSUGA and you're wondering, you know, about building her and playing around with her, putting teams together, you need to know what ability the AI is going to prioritize. And from what I've seen, it is most often that A2 barrel through ability that does the decreased attack or the decreased defense, the smart debuffing based on the team you're up against. So yeah, we've got a there's the A1, and that has the ability to place the block cooldowns, and she's pretty big. She's a barbarian there, And a lot of people kind of joke around how she's War Mother's sister here. So yeah, definitely looks pretty cool aesthetically for URSUGA Warcaller here, being a barbarian, strong type champion, tanky. So yeah, I really like what they did in terms of the aesthetics and how she looks on the battlefield. Definitely fits the role here. And this Seer composition should be able to burst the dragon down in about 25 seconds. I'm going to guess around a minute 28 or so. Ooh, bad karma burn there from the Seer. The A1 ran up and hit for... Oh, there you go. That was a 21,000 crit on the A1. And she's not built with, like, crit damage or anything. So, yeah, not too bad for a support-type tank champion. It could definitely be worse. So I don't think the multipliers are like super horrible, but they're just not going to be as good as like a champion designed to be a damage dealer. And I don't think the optimal route on URSUGA is going to be to have her like some sort of glass cannon, crank out damage. I think that's more of a champion like Sir Nick is the most notorious HP scaling damage dealer. So this did not go as planned because Seer had that really bad karma burn that didn't really do anything. At least she got an extra turn proc, so she'll be able to nuke the next turn, I think. There we go, more buffs. Let's get a big karma burn. There it is. That was a big one, 550,000. There we go, and boom. Now let's go ahead and walk through the individual grades for URSUGA and get her rated in every different area of the game. You can see here, there is only, we will be the 20th person to review URSUGA. She's a very new champion, and not very many people have gotten to this point to go ahead and rate her in game, so this should be fun. Campaign, she's not like a campaign farmer, but she's fine in terms of 3-starring content, so I will give her a 4. She's going to be fine, and she's void, so she's never going to hit weak. In all these potion keeps and stuff, she'll be a fine support. The magic and spirit, I'm going to give her a 4 because she's not going to be like removing buffs or anything. She's fine in the golem where tanky champions are very good. Clan boss, you know what? I'm going to give her a 3. I don't think she's going to be super good in the clan boss, but not like garbage. Arena, yeah, I'll give her a 5. I think she's pretty good in both defense and offense. You can build some cool teams with her for sure. Fire Knight, I don't think she's going to be amazing in the Fire Knight, but she's going to be really good on the trash mobs to get you to the boss, so I will still give her a 4. Spider's Den, she can really help you with the ally protection in terms of tanking it and lots of those debuffs, so yeah, I'll give her a 4. I think she's fine there. Faction Wars, definitely a 5. She is amazing in Faction Wars. Then the Keep, she'll be great in the Force Keep. Spirit Keep, again, we'll give her a 4, similar mechanic to the Magic Keep. And then Dragon and Minnow, she will be totally fine and viable, so we'll go with a 5 there. So let's get those submitted and have a discussion here about URSUGA, and I'll go ahead and pull her up in the index and also pull up the infographic while we're talking about it here. So yeah, I think they did a good job with designing URSUGA. She's a new champion coming out in the end of 2020, and I think they basically hit a home run with designing her. They made a really good champion that's not like broken. She's not gonna be ridiculous or something. I think she's just really solid, and she's good for early game, mid game, and end game. So yeah, I think they did a good job designing her kit. I think she's gonna shine mostly in like sustain, absorb, longer type prolonged arena fights, which is becoming more and more popular because the speed meta is getting tougher and tougher to compete in. So we're starting to see a lot more defensive, absorb, prolonged arena type fights, and she's going to be great on those type of teams, and also very good in dungeon content to help players who summon her to be able to progress in tougher tiers of dungeons. So yeah, I think they did a good job with her, and I don't really have any gripes with her as a champion. I think this one is really good. She's probably about in that like 8 to 12 tier in terms of best legendaries in the game, somewhere like in the top 12, I would say, somewhere in that 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 range in terms of best legendaries in the game. So yeah, let me know if you agree or disagree with me. I really enjoy reading you guys' input, and it helps me learn more about the champions and helps us all learn more about the game as well. So let me know what you think, and as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.